Not all the supervillain team-ups are what you'd expect. Welcome back, Nerd Squad. Sometimes it's the villains that you never think of that lend well to teamwork, and then there are the times where ego seems to get in the way of anyone getting things done. Join me as we count down the top 10 supervillain team-ups that actually worked. That is to say, we're going to be taking a look at some of the supervillain team-ups who were the most successful in terms of a few different areas: teamwork, terrifying their foes together, and defeating or coming near to defeating their enemies. And we might even be looking at some team-ups that just simply make each other better, or bring out an element of a character we haven't otherwise seen that's really fun to read about. Because whether villain or hero, that's just a nice thing. Alright, now let's get counting. Number 10, the Wizard and Trapster. These two would go on to become important founding members of the Frightful Four villain team, but even before that, they were teaming up together. Way back when Trapster was known simply as Pastepot Pete, these two worked together in Strange Tales in an effort to defame and defeat the Human Torch, Johnny Storm. In the end, the Torch escaped their trap and apprehended both of them, turning them in, but still, for two C or D-list villains, they came pretty close to killing the Fantastic Four hero, using Pete's pace and an airtight room that was quickly being drained of its oxygen. Also, I don't know if the Wizard's actually a C-list villain. I might actually bump him up. Also, Pastepot Pete is hard to say if you say it like 3 times fast. Number 9, Crime Syndicate. As much as I love the Crime Syndicate and think that they are an awesome team of villains, they are also pretty dysfunctional, which is why they are ranked so low on our list. However, despite the fact that they are often depicted as being at one another's throats and sneaking behind one another's backs in order to basically make sure that they themselves come out on top with the most power, they still manage to have an impressive amount of horrendous achievements, or almost achievements at least. The Crime Syndicate is still a supervillain team that proves to be extremely dangerous whenever our heroes come up against them, though they would probably be more frightening to face if they could do a little bit better at actually working together like a team instead of constantly double-crossing one another. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and comment below if you want to help us out here at the channel. I promise you it does really help, and we appreciate all your likes and comments. Thank you. Number 8, Daredevil Revenge Squad. Not the official name for this team, I don't think. This team was Typhoid Mary's group of villains. She recruited them to help her get revenge on Daredevil, and they all also had their own motives for doing him harm. All villains who had basically been slighted by the Red Devil themselves in the past. What's more, although this team up only lasted a few issues, it was actually brutally successful, with Typhoid Mary even using her Mary persona at the end of Daredevil issue 259 to kind of ensnare Matt Murdock into letting his guard down around her. Typhoid Mary recruited the Wild Boys, Ammo, Bullet, and Bushwhacker to help her get the deed done, but insisted on taking the final moment of defeat for herself. Also, is it just me, or does Typhoid Mary look huge in this issue? She looks like so tall. I'm just like, wow, what's happening? I don't hate it. Number 7, Gotham City Sirens. Definitely one of the hottest supervillain team-ups out there in my opinion. Gotham City Sirens isn't just awesome because it's a team of powerful villains, but because it also cemented a fantastic friendship between the 3 main team members that we can always go back to, and I kind of love that. The Gotham City Sirens are Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Harley Quinn, who sometimes also have other allies who join them in their villainous adventures. And also, let's be honest, heroic adventures, such as the Carpenter, Jenna Duffy, formerly part of the Wonderland gang. While this team up is one made up of criminals, the team of powerhouses also brought a lot of good out in each other and ended up actually performing a lot of heroic missions together despite their villainous pasts. So this might be a team up of villains, but it's also kind of a hero team in a weird way, kind of like doing a little bit of both, which I love. Number 6, Sinister Six. I didn't realize that I made the Sinister Six number 6. I just did that. That was not intentional. I'll take it, but it was not intentional, just so y'all know. While the Sinister Six definitely have their setbacks as a team, there is a reason why they are one of the favorites when it comes to supervillain groups and team-ups. I'm still waiting for them in the MCU. Please Marvel, give them to me. With the combined strength and skills of these villains, it seems that no scheme is outside of their reach. In reality though, they usually end end up in a competition to prove who is the better, which ends with them betraying one another usually, costing them their victories. But this team has still come close to defeating Spider-Man on multiple occasions, and despite their setbacks, they are a team that you can always rely on to find their way back to one another, even if it means sometimes recruiting some new members to their ranks in the process. Also, I'm all for new members being included to the ranks. There's so many good Spider-Man villains, why limit ourselves? Give me the Sinister 60. Number 5, Dr. Psycho and Riddler and Parademons. Dr. Psycho ends up allying himself with the Riddler in the Harley Quinn animated series. Originally, it's Harley who wants to team up with Darkseid with her gang, but in the end, she ends up surrendering her army of parademons that Darkseid supplied her with after realizing she's really doing all of this, conquering Earth to try and escape her romantic feelings for Poison Ivy, who is about to get married to Kite Man at this point in the series. Yikes, awkward. Dr. Psycho ends up becoming the big bad of the latest season in the end, with Riddler becoming his partner in crime and wielding great control over the leftover parademon army on Earth, which he has no qualms about using, unlike Harley, who's like, yeah, maybe I'm going a little too far. But yeah, Psycho's into it. A little too into it. Very much too into it. Number 4, Juggernaut and Black Tom Cassidy. These two aren't just great villains when it comes to their working relationship, they were also like fast friends and kind of best friends. I love it. Black Tom and Juggernaut have been good friends and allies since Black Tom's first full appearance in the comics in Uncanny X-Men issue 101. And I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, oh, but Amanda, that wasn't Black Tom's first appearance, but it was his first full appearance. So I believe his first cameo appearance was like issue 99, but don't quote me on that. Only a few issues later, they were already proving themselves to be a deadly duo as they teamed up to successfully kidnap and torment the X-Men in the hopes that this would inspire Professor Xavier to offer his own life up in exchange for his students' freedom. Unfortunately, they ended up getting tricked by Nightcrawler and ultimately were defeated. But still, this was a pretty good attempt to defeat the X-Men and Charles Xavier. Juggy's never gonna get over that. Or well, actually, yeah, he'll probably never get over it. I stand by what I said. It's gotta be hard for Juggernaut right now. Like, all of the mutants are off in Krakoa and he's not a mutant. It's challenging. Number 3, Lex Luthor and Brainiac. They were almost a complete success even in their very first team up. Almost. Together, Lex Luthor and Brainiac appeared in issue 167 of Superman, where they teamed up in a 3-part story to take down their joint foe. Their brilliance and technological know-how combined allowed them to both shrink and depower Superman, but unfortunately for them, Superman would not stand by and let himself be so easily defeated, or so well defeated, because I think that's a pretty good plan. And he found a way to escape their wrath. They honestly should have just squashed him when they had a chance, but hey, then we wouldn't have any more stories. Lex and Brainiac together, in fact, are such a fan favorite. We've even seen them in the most intense kind of team up in the DC animated universe when they merged both their minds and bodies together into one being. Like, your partnership is intense when you're just let's just join and be one being, but also terrifying. I don't want to fight. Lex and Brainiac merged together. Number 2, Masters of Evil. Another very iconic and successful group of supervillains who have teamed up together. This roster has also changed dramatically over the years when it comes to their members, and despite the fact that they have some members who are less popular when it comes to their notoriety, this seems to be a team that generally has some measure of success when it comes to their evil plots. The team has consisted of such members as Moonstone, Radioactive Man, Tiger Shark, Titania, and Absorbing Man, with any of the Zemos usually being seen as the most successful leaders of the team to date. But they've also had a lot of different leaders. To date, we've seen multiple incarnations of the team, and we're actually likely in, or at least approaching, the double digits, I think, at this point, when it comes to all the different rosters that we've seen. Number 1, Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. Yeah, so if you know me, you may have already guessed that they'd be at my top, but yeah, I love Poison Ivy and Harley Quinn. Never mind being, I think, some of the best supervillain team-ups out there. It's just two amazing characters. You give me two amazing villains together, I'm gonna say that it worked well. These two work together in a way that almost allows them to move from the side of villain to hero. In fact, over the last few years, as we've seen their characters develop together, they have both become more and more heroic. Though Ivy is now, of course, kind of headed back in the direction of straight up villain, currently in the comics, after her and Harley's relationship kind of fell fell apart in the aftermath of Heroes in Crisis. Still, for the most part, these two have brought out a lot of the best in each other, and have also managed to pull off some pretty impressive schemes along the way. I don't know whether making each other better and bringing out the hero in each other means that these two should be considered a great or an awful supervillain team up, but I personally like to see that as a win, even if it doesn't align with the villainous focus of this list. Any partnership where you bring out the best in someone, for good or for evil, should be considered one of the greatest in my books, because that's what partnerships and or relationships are all about. What are some of your favorite supervillain team-ups? Which villains do you think were great together? And which team-ups do you feel were a complete disaster? Let us know in the comments below. And speaking of comments, it's time to turn to some comments from one of our latest videos, Top 10 Obscure Spider-Man Alternate Versions. Graham Can comments, all these takes on alternative Spider-Man. What if the alternate was the radioactive spider? So what if they'd been a fly, a mosquito, a rat, a cat, a dog? What if the radioactivity had infected a person who bit another person? The amazing Human Man. What if it was a plant with thorns that became radioactive? As always, thank you so very much for the video. And yes, we do know Galactus would love a giant Twinkie, thanks to the golden oldie, Aunt May. I really like this comment. Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea for a spin on it. There is actually like a what if, like a little joke story that's one page that suggests like a what if story where instead Spider-Man was bitten by a radioactive sheep, so we get like Sheep Boy. So I would definitely recommend you look at that because it's very funny. Henry Garner reminisces, I remember the Spider-Man/Hostess ads as a kid. Lol, good times. Man, you saying this has made me want Hostess cupcakes now. I've also never had a Hostess fruit pie. I don't know if anyone's had one, but if you have had one, let me know what it tastes like in the comments below because I'm curious now and I want one. They're always advertised in these old comics. Give me Hostess fruit pies. And that's all the time we have for comments today. Be sure to comment below for a chance to have your thoughts and your memories celebrated in a future video. This has been Top 10 Nerd, and I'm your host, Amanda McKnight. As always, you stay nerdy, YouTube.